All right, welcome back. We have another episode of the Rise and Bind podcast. I'm your host, Chris Langell, founder of Advisor Evolved and Local Traffic Marketing. Today, I'm pumped to have one of my clients, a longtime clients, and a guy that fits right into this conversation today, Mr. Shawn Fitzgerald from Sound Harbor Insurance from representing Long Island. Did I say that right?
You
Long
did.
Island.
You did say it right. Perfect
Cool,
accent.
cool.
Couldn't have done it better myself.
Yeah. I used to do voices and imitations as a kid. I had to entertain myself a lot. So I have some pretty cool impersonations.
Nah, that was spot on.
But no, man, thank you for jumping on with me. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while. We have a lot of agencies that come to us. They want to do lead generation. And I think, you know, you know, I think it's easy to generate leads or not. Maybe, I don't know if it's easy to generate leads, but we have become very good at that. I would say that, and this is not to like start this whole thing off with like a pat on my own back, but like if we were a baseball player, like we're batting close to 1,000 with the clients that we've built out campaigns for over the last year or two. And obviously we've talked about this a little bit. Facebook's algorithm has changed a lot. Google's algorithm is constantly changing. The stuff that worked a year ago doesn't work. And there's things that you need to be doing. So it's important if you're going to do this, that you find the right marketing partner, you find the right media buyer, somebody that lives and breathes this stuff, that knows what's changing and how to sort of capitalize on the updates that these algorithms are constantly pushing out. So you're one of the guys that we do lead gen for both Google and Facebook. You've been doing it now for a while. I mean, it's been what? It's been a year
Been
or eight,
probably
9 months.
8 months. Yeah, probably like 8
Yeah.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. You've been doing it for a while. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because you're doing both Google and Facebook. So you have some experience. I'm sure you're going to speak on that as we move through the conversation. But one thing that I like to preach to the clients is, the agencies that are really doing well with lead gen are doing a combination of things. It's not just one thing, right? And I know me and you have talked about organic versus paid. We're a big fan of paid. It works. That's what these platforms are, pay to play platforms. They don't care about giving you free traffic or free leads. They're both publicly traded companies, Facebook and Google. They make money by selling ads. And that's what
Can I?
works.
I just got to add to that, Chris,
Jump in, jump in.
about the paid leads part is like, I think one of the most underlooked aspects of it is that it gives you a consistent flow of leads on a monthly basis that you can now measure to project what you're going to do from a sales perspective. If you're just going based off of referrals or business referral partners, you might get 10 one week, you might get 5 one week, you might get 2 one week. But when you start running the paid ads long enough, you start to notice, oh, okay, from Meta ads, I'm getting 9 leads a week. From Google, I'm getting 15 leads a week. From the 15, I'm contacting 50% of, and then all of a sudden it becomes such a math problem, as far as like, okay, now you can almost like reverse engineer this whole thing, right? So now I look at, okay, what kind of agents, like we just start big picture. What's the type of agency I want to grow? What do I need to do on an annual basis to hit that? And I'll just throw myself on the spot. Like if I want to do 250,000 new business revenue, I know that Ryan and myself have to work a minimum 10 new leads a day each. And the only reason I'm able to know that specifically because I know what the average commission is per account. I know how many leads we're getting from Google per month. I know how many Meta ads we're getting, from that per month. So it all comes down to numbers. And then like, it just gives you such clarity and you're not just like shooting from the hip and hoping you get a certain amount of referrals in a month. You know what I mean? So
100%. And to add to that, that's a great point. If you're an agency owner, you're listening to this episode and you have producers or you're bringing a producer on that you want to feed business,
great way to learn.
this paid is the way to do it, right? If you're hoping to generate leads from some of the stuff that worked many years ago, writing blog articles and just putting content onto social media, like those are things that are not bad to do. I don't want to sling mud on that, but it's just when you need business now, You need opportunities now. You need at bats now. Paid marketing it outperforms organic any day of the week.
For sure.
So,
I feel like the organic having the combination of the 2 is great because when you're using paid, people are gonna go to your personal Instagram page or your LinkedIn
mhm,
or whatever to see if you're, doing stuff on there, so I think it's good to have a good combination of both, but you're spot on, like,
yeah,
the paid ad results versus organic is 100 to 1,
yeah.
you know?
The other thing too, it's worth mentioning that you just touched on, which I think is important to mention about doing paid lead gen, is that it actually can increase your organic traffic. And here's what I mean by that.
But yeah.
Say someone sees your Facebook ad, right? They go, they click through, they check you out. They may not be ready to take action right then and there, which is normal. It usually takes 7 to 15 touches for somebody to actually trust you. So what they do is they see your ads on Meta, then they go and look you up. They either go to your Facebook page, they Google you, they find your Google business profile. But
Yeah.
we've heard this from multiple different agents. They're like, yeah, we're getting more people to fill out our website forms from the not from the ad funnel, but just our organic web form page. They're like, we're getting more of those as well, in addition to the actual paid leads. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like the buyer journey is people see you and they go to check you out and then they see you in other places and they're like, yeah, these guys are legit, or I want them
Yeah.
to give me some quotes.
Yeah, it definitely gives your reputation a boost for sure. And we noticed that because we did Google paid ads first. And that was one of the biggest things. I remember calling you like 2 months in, and I'm like, dude, I remember the organic lead form fill was happening a lot more. Like
Hmm.
it went from like one a week to like two a day. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what's happening? And you're like, oh, that's just a result of doing the paid search. It boosts the SEO. And I was like, oh, yeah, and it's a huge difference, but you should, that is another important reason why you wanna work with someone like you who helped me integrate that into my CRM so I can see what the results are and measure them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a big thing. I'm glad you brought that up, is, like, the organic results boost up big time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and on that point, to that point, this is a very important thing as well to kind of mention, is that we now live in what you would call a zero click economy. We live in a zero click world on Google. What I mean by that is if you go to Google search right now, you type in an informational query, AI is probably going to answer it for you. You don't have to go to somebody's website anymore to find out how water backup insurance works. If somebody searches, insurance agent near me, the map pack is going to show up. The ads are going to show up at the top. Those are the assets that people are interacting with. There's hard data on this, right? People are not as much now as they used to. They're not going down to the bottom to click on the little blue organic website link results, right? 1996, all you had was ads and blue links. There were no SERP features that would take you away from clicking through to someone's website. So running Google ads in some markets, depending on the market, the industry, the saturation is necessary because there's people aren't clicking on the website
Yeah.
links. So a lot of people said like, oh, we don't see the traffic that we used to see. That's widespread across the internet ever since AI overviews became a thing, ever since AI search has become a thing. Um, Paid is a really great way to supplement or augment what you are getting from organic. And again, insurance is very competitive, it's very saturated. In most markets, there's going to be 7, 10, maybe 15, maybe even more insurance agents within a very small radius. So if somebody does search, insurance agency, Dallas Fort Worth, they're going to see 25 results, right? So you could be ranking very well in that market and still lose the clicks, still lose the opportunities because there's so many other options people are researching. And that's exactly why I like Facebook, right? Facebook creates that demand before the person ever goes and searches on Google, right? Ideally, if I'm a business owner, I don't want people finding me in Google, right? People are going to be like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? That doesn't make any sense. I would rather you find me from paid, from an ad, because I know if you go to Google, you might find three or four other options, and then
Mhm.
I lose. Or maybe I become just one of those options. So that's a
Yes,
great
good
thing
point.
about paid, great thing about Meta, great thing about display advertising is that you're creating more of an exclusive lead. You're getting in front of people before they ever become problem aware, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that big time. I will say with the Google ads, I feel like the intent is more, and you kind of touched on it, but like the intent is definitely more urgent. Like usually it's, hey, I'm purchasing a new house, I need the coverage tomorrow, or my policy's canceling in a week, or but it's people who like need it quick and want the help. So I actually haven't found that too many of them are like shopping everywhere. But I will say the big difference. So Google definitely more intentional because they're, like you said, actively searching for insurance themselves. With Meta, I found more people are, again, this is just my market. There's people that are kind of like in the place they need to be sometimes. But like to your point, they're just passively coming across my ad, right? So I feel like with Google, the speed to lead has to be there because the intent is so high. Facebook, it still needs to be there, but it's not as critical, if that makes sense. And then the last thing I'd add to that is with Meta, it's such and you said this to me a few months ago, is like, you got to think of the branding aspect of it, which, because we're highly targeted in like my specific area that I'm in. I didn't even tell you this yet, but it was just so funny, dude. I went to the gym, it was like last week, and some random guy was like, hey, I'm so sorry, man. I got to stop you for a second. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, are you that guy in that Facebook ad talking about coastal home insurance? And I'm like, yeah. And he started telling he's got multiple cars and flood and all this. I live right by the water, love to connect. So it was just funny that it just made me think, oh wow, Meta really does more of a branding aspect versus Google, obviously. But just a little thing you might not think of.
That's awesome. No, I've told you, but I've told that to people before. There's like this residual effect
Yeah.
of running, of running paid and running Meta is that right? You sometimes the ROI is not linear. You don't just turn the campaign on and then you're writing policies the next day, right? Sometimes and weird stuff like that happens. People see you out in public and they're like, that story you just told, it's that's real. That happens and like the branding component is so important, especially now with AI being sort of like at the forefront or at least growing at
Yeah.
the forefront of like online decision making. Like these LLMs, I've said it before, they're citing multiple different sources. They're looking at YouTube, they're looking at Facebook, they're looking at Google, they're looking at Bing, they're looking at your Google business profile. Like your brand is so critical now, and just having that brand awareness is so critical. And again, especially if you're in a competitive industry, right? If you have 10 competitors in your market, you can't just rely on your website anymore. It's too competitive. There's too many other options out there. You need to get out in front, be proactive, do some branding, do some marketing, and that does pay dividends. So let's talk real quick about lead quality because this is something I wanted to touch on. You have a lot of data, like you've been doing this longer than most. So you can kind of speak on that. And I told you before, like Google's always going to probably give you in some cases higher lead quality because there's purchase intent, not
Yeah.
necessarily because they have a better account. People are
For
still going to
sure.
find you. People are still going to find you in Google that have DUIs that you can't write, or
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
3 claims. You can't control that. Google and Facebook don't know people's clue and MBR. They don't know that kind of data. So they're not going to just deliver you perfect clients time after time after time on a silver platter. You're going to get good with the bad. So speak on that because I know we made some adjustments to a couple of your
Yeah.
campaigns, which made a pretty big difference in lead
Yeah,
quality.
yeah. So I know specifically for the Facebook ads, we were kind of getting unqualified leads. I'll just say it is what it is. We got a lot of unqualified leads. So to your point, it was people looking for auto only or people looking for, a home that had 6 claims in the last 3 years. But it was pretty frequent. So I know you and I connected and we're like, man, how can we improve the quality of leads? And I remember we sat down, we had a conversation. It was like, okay, I might get a few less leads, but they'll be higher quality. And you added a form and did kind of the creative behind that. And basically, we just added some knockout questions. So
Mhm.
everyone's market is completely different. But for us, we lead with coastal homeowners. So I just sat down and I'm like, man, what are like the three biggest knockout questions for homes in my coastal area? And it was age of roof, claims history, and do they have coverage in place now? Right. So we added those into the form and made it easy for the client, the prospect to fill in. We didn't make it overly complicated. And that took the lead quality from like, I think we went from like maybe like 5% close rate on the leads to like I'm like a little over 13 now. So it's a huge increase.
Hmm.
And now I'm actually at a point now where I'm like, I'm wanted to talk to you about it offline, but I'm like, screw it, we'll talk about it now. But I want to talk to you like, man, could we add, I'm okay with getting a few less leads
Sure.
to improve the
More
quality even
disqualifiers.
more.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
add
So
more disqualifiers. Yeah.
yeah, like, hey, like another weird thing that's been coming up is like, do you have a second kitchen in the home? If you do, does it have a proper CO? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to. Oh yeah, I got a second kitchen. Yeah, it's not legalized. Okay, it's going to be an issue with. It's like a thing on Long Island. Um, you know, doing something like that, adding that question in there to again lower the amount of monthly leads I get, but if it boosts the quality of the lead, and now my close rate goes from 13 to 22, it's totally worth it. And then I'll just increase the ad spend.
Yeah. No, for sure. We can add that in. And I also didn't
Yeah.
know people in Long Island were living like that. I mean, there's
It's a lot
rich.
of ADUs, a lot of they call it accessory dwelling units. And it's like, and it's not even some of these people. It's like, I bought the house like this. What do you mean? I'm like, I'm like, did you talk to the like real estate attorney? If you have a
That's
second
crazy.
kitchen and separate apartment in the house, it has to be properly CO'd. Yeah. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah. It's,
Don't get me started.
you're either living next to somebody that's like a millionaire, they have two kitchens, or like Walter White is like next door in his second kitchen,
Yeah. Right.
putting in work.
Exactly.
That's funny, man. No, there's a lot of things that you can do, that we can do, or that you can do as an agency owner if you're listening to this, to play around with lead quality. And the one tip that I would say to anybody that does lead generation, and there's a lot of tips, but this is one that's important, is you have to be mentally strong when you do lead gen. And what I mean by that is you're going to get bad leads. You're going to get people that don't fit what you're trying to write, and you might get a lot of them. You have to approach every opportunity, every lead. You have to flush the bad ones and move on. And you have to approach every single phone call, every single interaction with the same positive mindset. I tell this story before. Um, when I cut my teeth in the insurance business, it was at AIG. I was working in a call center. I was working in a cubicle. I had the little headset on like you're wearing right now. And we were taking anywhere from 15 to 30 calls a day. This is AIG was doing a lot of commercials, a lot of direct mail at that time. So you want to talk about unqualified prospects. I mean, a lot of people, we'd have people all day that they're at home, they're watching Jerry Springer or Maury Povich. They got nothing going on, and they see the commercial, they pick up the phone and call. I mean, you're talking about people that they didn't know their square footage. They didn't know really anything about the house. And you have to sit there and like pull this information out of these people and like sell them over the phone. I mean, we wrote so much insurance back in those days. There was probably 20 sales reps on the floor just in homeowners alone. There was a completely separate floor for auto insurance. They separated us. I was in the home insurance and like umbrella division, but we sold so much insurance from direct mail and commercials. It was unbelievable. And I would say, like, if you let a bad lead or you let a couple bad leads ruin the experience, you're never going to make it with digital marketing. You're never going to do it with lead generation. It's the nature of the business, especially with insurance where you're serving the general public. Like, anyone can come to you with any type of circumstance, and you're going to get bad leads. On the flip side, you're going to get people that you can write, that you will write, that are profitable. You get referrals from them. It can work both ways.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I think the mental aspect of it is not talked about enough in the industry for sure. That's why at the beginning of this episode, I think I touched on like knowing what the vision of your agency is like so important because especially when you're doing paid ads and I start talking about, oh, you get 10 a day, you work 10 a day every day. It becomes pretty quickly, it becomes like monotonous. Like you're just like, All right, here we go. All right,
Yep.
10.
Yep.
I'm going to be on the phone 15, 20 minutes with each person. It is what it is. But if you come across that person, and it happens every day, the person that doesn't want to share their deck pages because they think you're screwing them and
Right.
insurance is a scam and blah blah blah, you have to keep in mind what your vision is and just plow on to the next one, and just know that, hey, I talk to 100 people. I'm going to write 23 of them. So if one guy tells me to F off, it is what it is. It's just checking off the box to get that much closer to the goal that I want to achieve. So I think from a mental aspect, that's the biggest part of it, you know?
Yeah, and we talk to agencies sometimes and they're like, we don't have time to like chase these people around. It's like, when are you not chasing business? Like, when are you
Yeah.
not hunting down
If you
premium? Like, when are you not trying to grow your book of business? Like, that's kind of like an excuse that some people make, and it's like, it's not rocket science. You just pick up the phone, you have automation in place, the follow-up is obviously critical, but like I think too many agencies are in that referral only mindset where they're so used to people kind of coming to them that are halfway sold already. And it's like, you can live in that world, but like you said earlier, if you have producers you have to feed, if you really want to scale and grow and potentially exit your agency, like you got to grow fast and efficiently. And, follow up is always going to be a part of that, calling people back. The phone is still the deadliest money maker in the world. It's how you're going to
hands
sell
down,
insurance.
hands down. And it's like, it's really not that difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, like, anybody can do this stuff. All you have to do is, so when I mentioned like the reverse engineering of your annual goal, right after you know your big long term vision, you break that down daily, right? So I mentioned do the 10 a day for me, 10 a day for Ryan. So now I know, all right, I got to do 10 calls. I got to do these 10 calls. It's going to take roughly this much if I get each person on the phone. I know, like, it's about, I would say, 2.5 hour block, Monday through Friday, basically like 9 to 10:30. I mean,
Hmm.
9 to 11:30. I'm blocking out that time specifically just to call on my paid ads, or to, if I don't have any new that day, to follow up on the ones I did from yesterday. And that's it. You just have
That's
to
awesome.
time block for it
Yeah.
and know how many you need to hit per day. And if you want to grow, that's what you need to do. Otherwise, something's going to come up. You're going to get too
Yeah.
busy,
Yeah. I love it, man. No, and honestly, that's the mentality that I think a lot of people need to have, right? Like, do you want to be a sales and marketing organization, or do you want to be a service organization? Right? Because there's some
You don't need to have it.
Yeah, because there's
Yeah,
some
I'll
people
take it.
listening. Yeah,
I'll take
but
it.
there's
Give it to
there's
me.
there's some there's some people listening that are like, "Oh my god, like you call people for 2 hours a day?" Yeah, like that's what a sales organization does. Like, we're running a no huddle offense, We're
Yeah, if you
not
want to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not running 3 yards in a pile of dust anymore. Like, this is a different game, again, because of how competitive insurance is, right? So I love the fact that you have that mentality. And it was funny. You said something to me the other day through message, and it really stuck. And it was like, you're trying to do something with one of your new guys, maybe restaurants.
Yeah.
And you said something to me like, hey man, like we're running a target. We want to target a different niche for commercial. We're probably looking at restaurants and maybe a couple other things. And then you said, outside of cold calling these people, like, what would you suggest we do to try to get in front of these people?
Yeah.
And I was like, this dude gets it. Like, if cold calling in 2026 is still an option in your mind to get business, you're doing it right. I'm not saying that that's the best way to get people, but that's the killer mentality that you have to have in this specific industry.
Yeah.
Again, because of how saturated it is, like, you got to be ready to pick up the phone. And I love that, man. I was like, this is the guy that gets it. Like, I wish more business owners had that mindset. It's just that makes such a big difference in your success with these campaigns.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I think it's analysis by paralysis, right? We've heard it a million times, but like, there is so much software, so much technology that it gets a little overwhelming as the agency owner. You start thinking to yourself, oh man, I'm doing these, 20 cold calls a day, but maybe if I implement this new automation campaign, I won't have to do as many cold calls. And then all of a sudden, now you're trying to get into a whole new thing. It's a huge time suck. The
Yep.
phone works. The phone still works.
It works, man. Back real quick to Meta and Google. It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. We had a guy that hit us up and he wanted to do some SEO stuff. And I said, what's your objective? Do you want to write business today or tomorrow? You know? And sometimes it probably sounds like I'm slinging mud on Google, which I'm not. I think it's a very viable way to get traffic and get business. In fact, I know that it is. But what I would say to most agencies is like, just stop and think about the buyer journey real quick. And I'm just going to ask you this question. I want to see what you say. I'll give you some multiple choice. When do you think the average prospect usually shops for insurance? A, randomly, or B, at renewal? Probably renewal. The average person, they are changing their insurance at
Yeah,
renewal,
because they're
right?
getting notified by their mortgage company that, yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
So that happens usually once a year, unless you're on a 6-month auto term, but let's just say that's once a year. And when does the average person change their insurance? I'm sure this varies greatly, but let's just say it's once every 2 years,
yeah,
three,
two,
3
3 years.
years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I'll go 3.
So let's say 3. So, you know, do you want to put your eggs in the Google basket, in the search basket? I don't want to just pick on Google. I mean ChatGPT search as well, any type of search engine. Do you want to put your eggs in a basket where the person is searching once every 3 years? Or do you want to be on a platform that people are checking every 20 minutes? Meta, right? The average person checks Facebook or Meta like over 20 times a day. Like that's where I'd be wanting to invest myself in the platform that has the attention, that has the eyeballs. And again,
Sure.
this is not to slight search. Search still can work. It still can drive traffic. If you listen to marketers that don't know any better, there's some of them out there that sort of are drinking the SEO juice. They will make it seem like it's the answer to all life's problems, right?
If you pay them 10 grand up front.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, and look, there was a point in time where you could do a lot of stuff. You could game Google. Doing link building still does work for SEO, but it's just like it's an arms race, honestly, that most agencies cannot keep up with. It's a multi-year investment to try to like
Yeah.
outrank State Farm and like, look, you can have some small wins here or there, but like I said earlier, like paid, it just outperforms organic tenfold from and this is across hundreds of clients, not just like 2 people that
Yeah.
we're running ads for.
Yeah, I would say just my experience is the cost per lead is definitely way less on
Yeah.
Meta compared to Google for
Yep.
sure. Like if I was bringing on a producer, I would not lead with I'm going to give him a bunch of paid Google ads because it's just the cost per lead is a lot higher.
For sure.
And with Meta, I think you just need to. My advice to agents would be just put a little bit of extra focus on that lead qualifying that we spoke about because you want to narrow. I'd argue you mentioned something about like it might not be easy to get leads at the beginning of this. I would argue if you're working with you, it's easy to get the Meta leads.
Yeah, it is easy.
It's
No,
easy,
we
but you got to
yeah.
qualify them.
Yeah, we have it down for sure, man. We've it's been a lot of trial and error and like testing different stuff and we work obviously mostly with insurance agents, so we have some like a very tight like data set that we're working off of, and we've been doing this for a long time. It's not to pat myself on the back. It's just a reality. We are definitely sort of more of a specialist in insurance than other industries. But so let's do this. If you were talking, and it's funny, me and you actually have a call later today with another agency, kind of like a mini consulting call, if you will, to kind of like give them some information, kind of maybe even a little bit of a pep talk, um, tell them what's working, what's not, how they should expect to kind of react to leads. But if you were talking to an agent, and we'll wrap it up because me and you, it's dangerous. We get on these calls, we can go for like 2 or 3 hours talking about this stuff. I want to respect the listeners' times, but if you were sitting in front of of an agency that's never done this before and they're like, "Oh, like, we don't know if we should do it," or like, give the listeners, like, let's say 3, 4 more, whatever you think in your head, 3, like, sort of critical, non-negotiables when it comes to lead gen and making it
Yeah.
profitable.
I would say non-negotiable number one is just speed to lead. We touched on it before, but I've done so many of these that the wow factor of when you call somebody within 60 seconds of that lead coming in, people are freaking blown away, right? Like I, I had one today before this call. I called the guy, the lead just came in. I, clicked the phone button and dialed it right away. And he was, wow, man, that was freaking quick. And like, I think I heard, it might have been Hormozy that said it, but it's like the psychological thing that goes through the prospect's mind is like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Right. So they're automatically already thinking, man, Shawn's on top of his stuff. Shawn must
100%,
really have his shit together,
100%.
I try it's almost like an instant trust factor and gain of
Instant
credibility.
gratification. Yeah,
Yep.
instant gratification.
And I could kill you to death with stats, but the biggest one, and I've fact checked this a million times, is like if you contact the prospect within 60 seconds of it hitting your pipeline, you are 391% more likely
Mhm.
to write the policy.
Yeah,
That alone should make you figure out how to do it. And it's listen, I'm not perfect. I'm actually we'll touch on this offline, but like I can improve on that,
for
you know?
sure. Yeah,
So
it's
I
not
would,
it's not easy for everybody to just stop what they're doing for sure and pick up the phone. But yeah, I think that was a Harvard Business Review study. If I remember
yeah,
that, that's
yep. Yeah, and Hormozy said it, so it's just true.
correct, right?
And then two, I would say outside the speed to lead, you have to know. Just think for your mental perspective and the consistency factor, and for knowing the numbers. Like you just got to know how many are you going to work a day, how many do you want to work a day, and know what that math comes out to. So like I wrote a couple of things down on this. Is like, and this is just to keep it super simple. Know the number of leads, right? The average commission you make per policy, and then what is the close rate on those leads, right? But that's like on the most basic terms. That's what you want to know. And then on a daily basis, like I said, the 10, right? You want to know, hey, 10, and I don't know if you guys can see my little notebook here, but I actually wrote down the names of the ones I talked to so far.
Love it.
And I just make sure I get to my 10 and I check the box. And that is like a daily non-negotiable I have to do every day. Talk to my 10 prospects, talk to 10 new prospects every day. So, and even if they don't answer, I still consider it. All right, left a voicemail, counts as one. So know your numbers basically would be number two. And then for the third part, I I would actually say work with somebody that knows how to do the marketing aspect of it, like a Chris. And I'm not just saying that because we're on this
Yeah.
together.
No, I get
I
it.
think I didn't make the mistake. I almost did, but like I looked into it myself and was like, oh, maybe I can do it my own. But like it was so complicated. Like once we did that initial like setup call and behind the scenes, I kind of saw how you set up the pixel to the website and kind of how the automation worked. Then you gave me ideas on the creative. I was instantly like, man, I just saved probably like at least 20 hours just like having you do that aspect of it for me. And then having you to, I don't want to say hold me accountable, but like I have you, like you and I have like basically like a monthly call where it's like, all right, this is the numbers.
Mhm.
How does it look compared to what others are doing? Do you think I should tweak anything? And having that like accountability partner, I'd call it, like was extremely beneficial and helpful. So even if it's not Chris, use another agent,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
monthly, go over your numbers and see, is there anything you can tweak, and constantly analyze the data and just
Yeah,
pick up the
man.
damn phone. That's it. That's it.
Call the damn leads, right?
Yeah. Call the damn leads. I mean, if you told me tomorrow there'd be no automation whatsoever, no software, like I'd be completely fine with just, I truly believe we would still close 10% or more of the leads if all we did was dial them within 60 seconds.
Yeah. I think it's gonna go back to that, man, honestly. Like, there's this whole AI bubble and automation, these are These are very popular phrases and talking points these days, but it's going to get to the point where people are just going to want to talk to a human. I mean, it already
Yeah.
is, especially in our
Yeah.
industry. It already is, but there's going to be that the bubble I think is going to burst at some point in some industries, and it's like, yeah, the AI voice is cool, but it's like, people want to talk to a human when it comes to decisions like this.
I got to tell you this real quick before we head off.
Yeah, go
So
for it.
I ran, and I don't even think I talked about this much, but I ran an AI receptionist. Like this, this is like the I would say the negative side of my of my business experience. But I was literally like, all right, guys, we're going AI receptionist. I cut off all the lines and an AI recept. But I put a little bit of time into like finding a good one through Ring Central and making sure it had all the right stuff and talking to Ring Central AI team. And like I put some time into it
Mhm.
and I just ran it. And basically anytime someone called in, it was just the AI receptionist. And I used it, I don't want to call it a glorified phone tree, but I tried to keep it that simple. Whereas like,
Mhm.
hey, what's your name? What's your number? What are you calling about? All right, it'll route you to the right person. I listened to every single phone call this AI interacted with, and it it just it just wasn't there. Like,
Yeah.
I know if it was me on the other end of the line, I'd be annoyed,
Yeah. People are
and
trying
I'm
to the
very tech
people are
savvy.
hitting 0. They're hitting 0 on their phone as quick
Yeah.
as they can to get to a person.
Yeah,
It's
or
just
there's like a little awkward silence, or there's a little like, it's not it's
it's not
just
there
not there
yet.
yet.
It's not
Yeah.
there yet. It's
And even if
it's
it was
getting
there and people could sense it, to your point, I think that human factor on the phone is actually gonna be a big separator.
which is awesome because right? Can AI really replace us? Probably not, you know? Don't
I hope not.
don't believe in that, don't believe that rhetoric, man. Maybe that's just
Yeah.
my opinion, but anyway,
Yeah.
dude, it was good to kick it with you, man. I'm glad you were able to jump on. This is one that I wanted to do, and I say this to a lot of people, but I think it's true that we'll probably turn this into a little series because I'm sure there's other agents out there that want to kind of
Yeah.
hear your updates and your story and whatnot. And hopefully, and you've already, and I know that you have already set an example, a good example for other agents, whether you try to do that or not, you have. And proof of that is the call that we'll be on later. So I appreciate you, man. And for the people out there, check out Shawn Sound Harbor Insurance. Check him out on social. Find his stuff, like it, comment on it. And if you're an agency owner, a producer, or somebody in an agency that's listening and you need help with digital marketing, hit us up, advisorevolve.com. I'm sure you can find me online in a couple different spots. And be sure to subscribe to the Rise and Bind podcast on YouTube. Anything else, Shawn?
No, that's it, man. It was an awesome conversation, and, I think we should definitely do another one of these.
Sounds good, brother. All right, man. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Rise and Bind. Peace.